I had a choice in 2020. I could turn to alcohol and drugs. My doctor was right there with his pen and paper, wanting to prescribe me antidepressant pills and anxiety pills. Like, he was there. I didn't take it. I'm not going to cover a bullet hole wound with a Band-Aid approach. Like, there's got to be something out there that's going to get to the root cause of why I feel this way.
Hey there, welcome to the Female Health Solution podcast, where we discuss women's health, hormones, and everything else in between. Join me as we dive into the tools that you need to live your healthiest life. All right, you guys, another episode for you, an amazing interview with Amanda Nigg. She is such a powerhouse, and this is so fun to listen to. There's an amazing story here that we jump right into at the beginning, where she talks about how she got started in doing what she does. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable to hear how this tragedy and devastation that she worked through got her started in her fitness journey, and the business that she has built, and how she has really built this amazing community for people. So she is a remarkable force in the realm of fitness and mental wellness. That's the thing that makes her so special, is that she combines these things really beautifully in the work that she does. There's some really fun things that she has, the Farm Fit program, and then there's also a membership program which she is launching. There is a lot of positivity, a lot of great recipes and helpful information in these programs. And we're going to talk all about these things, including fitness, mindset, all of that in this episode. So stay tuned. Let me know what you think and enjoy. All right, you guys, welcome back to the Female Health Solution podcast. Today I have Amanda Nigg here. Welcome.
Super excited. Oh, we were talking earlier. We got to know each other. Yes. So I'm really honored to be on this.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited to chat a lot about kind of what you've built and why it's very different. Like, when I was reading through the information and kind of looking into, well, again, not to be creepy, but looking into you more, I was like, wow, this is super unique, a super unique way to approach health, fitness, everything. So tell me just background on how you got started doing this type of work.
Well, I've always been in like the athletic field, I would have to say, because I was that competitive athletic kid that grew up trying every sport. Like, I grew up playing fast pitch softball, soccer, I've done cheerleading, cross country. Like, I've always been super competitive. So like, athletics, like movement and exercise was always my thing. Like, even my associate degree is in health promotion. Like, I've always wanted to go into that space. I ended up going more on the medical side, which I do nothing with it. I graduated college as a radiation oncology therapist. So I absolutely do nothing, which is crazy. But for me, it actually, my whole business was started from my own battles with my mental health, and which is really crazy. So the day before the national pandemic, well, first and foremost, we all went through COVID, right? It challenged us all mentally to a new whole other level. Like, as human nature, we learn to adapt and adjust. And, there's a lot out of COVID that is actually positive, believe it or not. And people think I'm crazy saying that, but, look at us now. Now we're doing Zoom conferences. Now some people are working from home. Some people started businesses. Like, I started my business, in 2021. And for me, COVID took a whole nother level, because the day before the national pandemic, we just built our forever home 4 years prior to that, where we were going to kind of seek refuge. Everybody was going to be on that 2-week lockdown, quotations there. Yeah, we know how that went. And our house caught on fire. And yeah, so what happened was that morning I was getting my youngest ready for daycare. A little background about me is I actually sold supplemental insurance door to door, is what I did for 11 years. And I had a big interview coming up with a company, right before the pandemic, before the lockdown. And so I was getting ready to take my youngest to daycare, and my husband and my oldest were at home. And I'll never forget this. I get this phone call from my husband. And if you've ever met my husband, he's like the ultimate jokester. Because he's a fifth generation farmer. I didn't grow up in agriculture. And so he loves to play jokes on me and like test me. Like, and I believe him every single time. I'm like, really? That's how that's done? And he's like, no. So that morning he like called me, and I remember when he first said it, he was like, the house is on fire. And I was thinking, oh, I'm not in the mood. He knows how important, like, big this day is. It's the day before the pandemic. Like, there's a lot happening. And he repeated it to me. And like, just that I could tell, you know, how when your spouse says something and just that voice tone is different from normal. It's just like, wait a minute, like, he's not lying here. Like, this is actually happening. And I remember racing home and I was pulling up in the driveway and I see this smoke coming out of the house. And I'm a fixer personality. Like, I love to fix things. Like, you throw a challenge at me, I'll figure out how to solve it, how to fix it. And so instantly my instinct kicked in and I was trying to run in the house because I was like, I knew where the fire extinguishers were. Like, I knew how to, I was in my mind, I was like, I could get this put out and save our home, you know? And I hit this post and it knocked me flat on my back because we had these big pillars in front of our house. And I remember thinking, okay, don't go in that way. That was a sign. And I ran around the back. And by the time I got to the back, I saw the fire. Like, the garage was gone. We had a 3-star garage or a 3-car garage. And it was like, if I would have went in the house in the front door, I wouldn't be here today. Like, it would have just engulfed me. And then I finally heard my husband and my oldest crying, and they were in the horse barn across the farmer because they climbed out our master bedroom window and got out of there. And, you know, this is March 2020. Like, it's still, we're up north. Like, it's still cold. Like, there's still snow on the ground and we're in rural America. So, you know, for us, we're waiting for the fire department to show up. And I remember waiting that 38 minutes, which seemed like a long time, but you have to realize, like, it's 8 in the morning. Most of the fire departments in our local area are volunteer. So they were probably already at work. Then I got called from work to get to the fire department, load up the truck, you know, get dressed up and get to our house. So 38 minutes is insane. Like, it's super fast. But, you know, when you're sitting there watching your forever home burn to the ground, it's like, it didn't seem fast enough for me at that moment because I was like, gosh, maybe they can save the house. The garage is gone at this point. I was like, maybe they can save the house. Well, then next thing you know, they called another fire department and another fire department. And there was 5 local fire departments trying to save our forever home. And, you know, they're working on it and it's been an hour and they still can't get it to stop. And all of a sudden we hear this loud noise coming down the driveway. And it was an excavator. They called in an excavator to collapse the home on itself because they couldn't get it to stop. And they didn't want it to spread to the fields and then end up being a bigger issue. And so we're watching them collapse our home, and every, you know, a small town in America, you know, everybody's out there because it's like nothing big like this happened. So the whole community's out there snooping. And I'm crying. My husband's crying. And my husband doesn't show emotion a lot of time, but he was just devastated. And our oldest, you know, at the time he was only 6 and he was just trying to comprehend everything going on. You know, seeing both his parents cry and everything just burning down and all these people trying to work together to get it to stop. And, you know, needless to say, we went away from our home with nothing, absolutely nothing. So we ended up leaving and going to his aunt's house, and then they called us and they're like, we couldn't salvage anything, like, it's completely gone. Well, then that next day was the lockdown. So then the next day we're told we can't see people, you can't communicate with people, you have to keep social distancing, like, you can't even go grocery shopping, buy clothes. And I was just mentally numb at that point. Like, I just couldn't comprehend what we just went through. Then going into the pandemic, it was just like I was just lost and I couldn't get out of bed. It was just like I was at my absolute lowest, like I was struggling. And for my husband, you know, we were just getting ready for planting season. So we lived half a mile from the main farm. So for him, farming is a very solo industry, you know, where he's in the tractor by himself most of the times, you know. So for him, he could still pick up and do his work, where I couldn't go to door anymore. I couldn't do my career. I'm homeschooling my kids. We're living out of our shop / his aunt's house because we're trying to social distance. On top of it, we're navigating through insurance. Don't even get me started on property insurance. Like, they're not on your side. Trust me. When you go through something that big, like, they will find any excuse not to pay. So, you know, luckily for me, I knew the understand the insurance lingo, and I was like, no, like, we're going to get everything paid. Like, this was not our fault. Like we didn't start the fire. Like, so it was a very humbling moment for me. And months after that, I was just struggling mentally. Like I lost it's almost like I lost my identity. And I went to social media with that. So before I changed my handle to Farm Fit Mama, I was Amanda Nigg on social media. And I changed my name to Farm Fit Mama and I started posting exercise because again, I grew up, I knew how important exercise was. Like that was my time to check in with myself mentally and physically. And so I started creating these workouts and I wasn't certified at the time. I was just posting these random workouts on social media. And I posted this plank challenge for the month of May because May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I was like, I'm going to put together a plank challenge. Again, I'm not certified, but I'll put this plank challenge together, make it publicly, see how many people join me. We can all come together and do this plank challenge as a community. And so I pitched it online, and next thing I knew, I had like over 800 plus, I don't even know, across the world participating in this plank challenge on social media. And I mean, people were planking on barns, tractors, ditches, like you name it, like bison. I had a guy plank on a bison. I have a video of this. And it was
No
just like,
way.
yeah, it was cool. Well, it was cool that, granted it just really opened my eyes to how not in, especially in agriculture, because that's the industry we live, is like nobody's really approaching mental health through a physical transformation. Like, we all that was available at that time was a 1-800 number. And even at my absolute lowest point, I wasn't going to call it. I was like, oh, somebody else could use that number, not me. And again, maybe that's just me. I kind of viewed it as a band-aid approach. But again, there was nothing physically available for our community. And so that's where really the fire started for Farm Fit training. I was like, gosh, somebody needs to create a workout program that is tailored for individuals that want to work out at home, that don't have a lot of time, 15 to 25 minutes. I've done the research on the methodology behind that. We educate something called macronutrients, which is not a diet, it's a nutrition theory. You're focusing on the nutrients of foods instead of empty calories there. And so I knew that was the ticket for me for seeing changes, because like I had 2 C-sections, gained 60 pounds during pregnancy, so like I knew it worked, and I knew how to teach it properly. And it just kind of lit my fire. Went and decided to go back to college and school and get my certifications, and officially launched my business February 5th of 2021, which is crazy because like I never thought I would launch a business like less than a year after we lost our home. And like we haven't built our home yet. I always get asked that question, and it's kind of the things like, yeah, we'll build it. It's more, I don't know if I'm quite ready to go through that, because my husband was the contractor for our home. Like, I mean, we customed everything. We put it in our heart and soul to make it like exactly how we wanted it. And so to go through that whole process again, we know how like tedious it is. And we're both like, yeah, we're not there yet. Even 4 years later. So, but we'll get there. It's one of those things where it's just like, we know, hey, like when we decide to build our home, it'll be the right moment for us to mentally kind of go through that process again.
That is a lot to handle. And I can't believe that like the day before everything gets shut down and like, you can't go shopping or whatever. You didn't have anything.
Underwear from a neighbor. I mean, talk about humbling. And I'm the giver, remember? So like, I like to give. So for me, my personality, like asking someone for help or asking someone to like get something, it took a lot for me. Like, I mean, I didn't have underwear. I didn't have clothes. My husband did because he had stuff at the farm, but I had nothing, like literally nothing.
Oof. Yeah. That's an amazing, like how you got started story.
I know, everybody's like, did that really happen? I'm like, yeah, go check my social. It's on there.
It's on there, documented, all the things. Oh my gosh. So one of the things that you had mentioned before we even started recording was talking about like the mindset piece of it and how that's so important. So how does that tie in for you, and how do you incorporate that into the program that you have?
I mean, the biggest thing is like any program out there, especially the fitness space, like, yeah, it's super saturated. Someone like me coming in 2021, I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar market. And everybody, the biggest thing that all the programs, I mean, I've tried them all. I've tried every diet plan out there when it came to nutrition, like even keto, which don't get me started, or intermittent fasting, don't get me started on those. And I've tried, CrossFit, I've tried strength training, I've tried yoga. I mean, I've tried all of your fitness programs as well. But none of them really there wasn't a program out there that I could find that had both of them, where you got the workouts, you got the nutrition, and then you combined it with the mental health component. Like, yeah, they teach a lot about, exercise, and, a deadlift's the same as a deadlift in my program. Like the form's still the same, nutrition, again, there's programs out there that teach about macronutrients. How they approach it is a lot different. Like I created a really unique way to approach macronutrients to break it down to make it understandable. But, like nobody really taught that mental health component. And what I mean by that is nobody really taught you like habit training, stress management, environmental and emotional changes in yourself, and how that correlates into nutrition. And so when I went and got certified, I really wanted to hone in on that because, like, I didn't want it to be a one and done program. I wanted this to be a sustainable system that once you learn it and learn the science behind it and understand, like, hey, by doing this deadlift, by working these muscle groups, by working out in the morning, I'm releasing endorphins. It's making my memory sharper throughout the day. I'm more alert. I'm more active. I'm challenging my body. Like our bodies are meant to be challenged. They're meant to like have that breakdown so that we can build that lean, sexy muscle. And like I wanted to teach progressive overload, and really dive into that, but coupling that with like the habit side of things, like, hey, we're going to start setting up these habits. We're going to start creating this system for you that you can sustainably keep on and understand the why and science behind it. And that was the biggest thing with Farm Fit training is like everybody that comes in the program, I don't want them to be repeat clients. I want to give them the tools to be successful long-term so that when they leave Farm Fit training, they're so successful. They understand the mental component, the exercise and nutrition to where they could almost be a coach themselves. And that was really my goal there. It was like, okay, I really want to educate every single client why it's so important to work on all three of these components at the same time and not just dive into one of them individually.
I want to touch on, if you can, talking about some of the stress management things, because I mean, you went through something that was probably the most
Yeah.
stressful thing that a lot of people have been through, right?
Yes.
So how did you, like, that experience you had learning these tools and techniques, and what do you see typically with people in their regular everyday lives when it comes to stress, and then how they respond and then take care of that, or
Well,
lack
I'll
thereof?
be honest too. Like before I started Firm Fit training, I was that mom that yelled at my kids, or when things didn't go right, I couldn't adjust or pivot really well because like I was just so built up. Like it, like for example, if my kids didn't pick up a bag and they know to hang it up, I would yell at them instead of being like, okay, let's approach this a little bit differently. And that's the same with stress management. In agriculture, there's so many things that are not given. Like I mentioned to you before we got started, like we're the world's biggest gamblers. We gamble on weather, crop prices, commodity. Like, I mean, there's so much not given. And so for our community, especially in agriculture, there's a lot of stress. But with that being said, there's a lot of advances as well. Like technology is always improving. There's always new systems coming out to help you be efficient when it comes to farming practices. So there's a lot of good things too. But for the farmers, like the more manual labor side of things is getting replaced by technology, which is it's great. That means we're advancing, but what's not advancing is our health. Now we're not picking up hay bales. We have a tractor system that picks up the hay bales and squares them and packages them, and you don't even have to go out to the field and throw it on the back of a trailer. And again, that's a good thing because it makes us more efficient and we get more output. It helps get it to market faster. But it, as the farmer aspect, like that manual side of things, manually working out, manually challenging your muscles, that's getting replaced. And so, when it comes to stress management, like especially in the agriculture field, like I've noticed just off of our research and what we've dove into, I've trained thousands and thousands of people in agriculture, not just farmers and farm wives. We're talking people tied to this industry as well. And a lot of times they don't approach stress management in a healthier way of like, hey, how are you letting out that stress? Like, how are you releasing it? It could be through breathing exercises. Like today, I just posted a reel about deep breathing, again, or planking. Planking is a simple movement that everybody can do. Literally, we can all plank, and planking not only as you as a doctor and chiropractor, like it realigns your body, helps your circular system, helps you think sharper. I mean, planking. So it's just like there's a lot of amazing benefits that can come from movement, that will be a positive way to release stress. And that was kind of the thing for me, is like I had a choice in 2020. I could turn to alcohol and drugs. Like my doctor was right there with his pen and paper, wanting to prescribe me antidepressant pills and anxiety pills. Like he was there. And to be honest, he did subscribe me. I didn't take it. I got just subscribed it. But for me, it was just like, I'm not going to cover a bullet hole wound with a band-aid approach. Like there's got to be something out there that's more going to get to the root cause of why I feel this way. And so that's where the physical transformation, that's where diving into my workouts, like I'll be honest, like a lot of my workouts, they weren't pretty. Like I was crying. I was like emotional wreck during but again, that's how I was able to channel that stress management. That was how I was able to release that energy in a positive way. And so when we talk about mental health, it's like, yeah, you can talk to somebody, but if you're not taking those proactive steps, or changing something that's giving you stress, that added stress, like again, in agriculture, there's a lot of things we can't change. It's part of the industry. And so again, that you can't really change that side of things, but you can change yourself. That's where you dive into impacting yourself. You can start to change how you eat. You start to change how, doing a 15-minute workout, you can start challenging yourself that way to release that stress, instead of going towards drug and alcohol.
Yes.
And part of that
Yes.
system.
Yeah. I love how you mentioned that some of your workouts weren't pretty, because I feel like a lot of people will stop themselves or not finish if they're like, oh, I'm not doing a good enough job. This isn't perfect enough, or I can't make the perfect meal, or I screwed up on my diet today, throw in the towel, right? Whereas it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be messy, right?
It's gonna be messy. That's the thing. Like when you start a fitness journey, it is not going to be perfect. Like perfection does not exist, but it's about progress. It's about consistency. Like when I first started, even as a trainer, so when I opened the doors in 2021, like there was some of the movements where people were like, you're not doing that correctly. But at the end of the day, like I knew the right form, and I could start to dive into that. But your first step is always the hardest because it's not going to be pretty. You're going to start to learn. It's part of the growth process. You're going to start to understand and pay attention to the cues, and pay attention to your form. I mean, your first day out the gate, if you do like a squat and you can't get down deep, don't get frustrated. Look at it as a challenge that you can compliment and be like, okay, this is as low as I can go. Every day is going to be a new set. Like I can get lower the next day. Planking too. Like I'm referencing the planking because we're doing a planking challenge internal right now. But planking, all form fit training clients are doing it. They hate me. Like today, I think it's 2 minutes planking. But one of the things is like some people can't do it like full body. Like they have to be on their knees. Again, as long as you maintain proper form on your knees, it's still beneficial. It's a starting point. We all have to have that starting point. It's not going to be pretty. You have to work through it, but that's part of the growth. That's part of the mental side of things as well. As you get started, especially with nutrition, every meal is not going to be perfect, but maybe starting with breakfast and then, find 3 to 4 different breakfasts that you can make for yourself that do hit your macros, and then move to snacks, and then move to lunch, then move to dinner, and eventually you have this amazing menu that is custom to you and what you like that you can bounce around in. And that's where that confidence comes. But you have to start at that starting gate. You can't just jump in and be like, I'm going to have a perfect macro day every day. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
Yes. Right. Yeah. Perfect day every day. Not a thing.
Like I'm at 80/20. I'll be honest. Like I'm not perfect every day. I do get my protein. I do get my protein in. I'm pretty consistent on that one, but like outside of that, I'm definitely an 80/20.
Yes. Yeah. I love that you said that, because that's the thing I preach the most, especially for women, because that's my audience, right? I always talk about protein, protein, protein.
High
If
protein.
nothing else, get your protein in, because you're going to fuel your system way better that way.
It's the number one macronutrient. Like, I mean, our whole body is made of protein, everything. So like, and the crazy thing is once you start tracking it, a lot of people don't, even men. I love it when men in our program start to track their nutrition, because they're like, oh, I'm a huge protein eater. And then when they start to actually track it, they're like, oh my gosh, like I super undereat on protein and I feel like I'm eating meat all day. So there's a lot more to it. It's like once you start to track it, it gives you that visual reference to look back at and be like, okay, I'm not eating enough protein. I'm actually not underfueling my body. And that was one of the things that we really noticed in our community is like, yeah, they're moving around, they're doing a lot, but a lot of them don't know what a proper nutrition or properly how to fuel their bodies to function at its ultimate best. And at the end of the day, my husband's he's a business owner. Like our farm operation's a business. And if he's not feeling himself, he's not going to make right decisions when it comes to the business. And it's going to be that trickling effect. And so it's like, just that simple thing of like starting to pay attention to what you're putting in your mouth is super eye-opening in itself.
So tell me more about the Farm Fit program. Like, what does that include? What do you like put out for people? How do you work with people? What does that look like?
So we offer one-on-one coaching right now, which is every quarter we open up one-on-one coaching. It is limited. I'll be honest. It's kind of like the bottleneck right now. We're working through that. We only take on a certain number of clients because we do everything tailored. We have a questionnaire. We have questions we ask clients. We get to know you inside and out. Like, how can I motivate you? Like, for example, for me, if someone threw me a challenge, I'm like, watch this, I got this. But that might not work for somebody else. Somebody else might need more that nurturing side of things of like, positive quotes, positive affirmation. And so we really get to know every single client based on how we can motivate them, where they're at with their nutrition, physical fitness. Like it's very detailed. And so again, that's super limited. That opens up the next time I think we're opening it up is in August. And then from there, we have something. So the one-on-one is built out into 2 phases. It's a 6-week phase. And the reason I did it that way is because like if I approached you with a 12-week program, most people are going to be like, that's too long. Like, I don't know what I'm doing 3 months from now. But if I approach you with a 6-week program, everybody's like, okay, that's doable. Like I can give this hell for 6 weeks and figure it out. And so we have that split. So like not everybody goes into the advanced phase, but after that, we have something called a legacy group, which is an online community where they can continue on. It's more the group style coaching. I do have a couple of digital products out there that you can do. They're kind of like one and done. Like you can purchase it and go through it. And then if you want to be a part of it long term, you can do a monthly membership to it. But we are doing something super exciting. I created a online membership program that will launch at the beginning of June, which I'm super excited about because my community's been asking for it, where it's a low monthly fee and you get to be in my app. And from there, you'll be in a community space. You'll have 5 workouts a week, which 2 of them are upper body, 2 lower body, and then a HIIT style training workout. You'll have a calendar space. You'll be able to track your macros as well. So that is all coming out the beginning of June.
Nice. And do you have to have gone through the Farm Fit program to do the membership?
No, not the public one that we're coming out with. Nope.
Okay.
But
Okay. Awesome.
to do the legacy group, yes, because the
Okay.
legacy group we still do. So the members, the one-on-one coaching is like you have to. I mean, you have a ninja in your back pocket. You have a certified training coach in your back pocket. That's personal training, nutrition, and mental health certified. And then from there, depending on the level you pick in legacy, like my platinum, for example, they still get weekly check-ins where we still dive into their profile, check them out, give them tips and tricks. And then there's gold membership, which is once a month, where we check into the profiles. And then there's silver, which we don't do anything with them. It's just like the online community aspect. And so the silver is kind of what we're creating more public. And that would be more of like an entry level into what we're about. Cause I get it. Like a lot of times when you look at a one-on-one coaching, it's like, okay, I've been on diet culture hamster wheel for so long. Like, is this going to be the one that's going to work for me? You know, a lot of times we have that hesitation of like, how are they different? Like, how is this something I want to go into? And so that's really where that online membership comes into play, where it's like, okay, we're going to give you a taste of kind of what we're about to see if we are a good fit for you. Because I don't want you going into something where 2 months or 2 weeks down the road, you're like, this is not the community for me. Like, I mean, this is not something I wanted to go into. So it's more of
Mhm.
like, hey, get to know us, get to know what we're about, and you kind of get a peek of what one-on-one is about.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love for you to dive more into just talking about your community because I feel like that's something
I love
that when people find the right community, it can be so valuable. Like that's part
it.
of what keeps you going and keeps you connected with everyone else.
It is. Well, a fitness journey is a journey about ourselves. You know, at the end of the day, you're taking a fitness adventure by yourself. Like you're changing your mindset, your body, your nutrition, your eating habits, like you name it. But it doesn't have to be by yourself. And that's where the community aspect comes into play is there's like-minded individuals out there. And when you get tapped into the good community that's motivating that, I mean, I love it. So we have this community master group, we call it, where everybody in farm fit training is in that master group channel. And I mean, our farmers, I'll be honest, my guys typically talk about the crops and weather. That's their thing. It's fine. You know, where my ladies sometimes, you know, talk about like share recipes, you know, share a motivational quote, you know, whatever, or wins they had for the day. And so it's really cool because then even the guys will pipe in and be like, oh, that's an awesome quote, you know? So it's just like when you're surrounded by a positive community, it really makes the world a difference, especially in my, you know, rural America. Agriculture is very rural, very soul. You get to connect with people across the world. Like we're international. We have people from Canada in the program across the United States. And like a lot of times, like a lot of clients will get such a great relationship that they'll start to connect outside of the app, which is super freaking cool. And I love it because they get to know each other. And so then when we go to a farming event, it's like, oh, I finally get to meet you in person. And it's really cool to see how they connect with each other because, you know, they started farm fit training by themselves, but now they feel like they have a community that they're a part of. And on the flip side of things, one of the things I didn't expect out the gate was, you know, I knew I was going to have a lot of women, you know, naturally, because I'm a female trainer. And it's hard for men to come to a woman to have them trained to put on muscles. They're like, how does she know how to put on muscles on my physique, you know? But I did have a couple guy clients out the gate. Now I'd say I'm about 50-50. Like I have 50% female, 50% male. But what I didn't expect was couples. We take on couples. We have a lot more couples we take on, and I freaking love it. Because, you know, especially when it comes to nutrition, a lot of times they're like, oh, I have to make this special meal for myself. And then I have to make something totally different for the family. And so we really educate like, hey, you're making one meal. It's going to hit your macros, but it's going to work for everybody else in your family as well. Like my boys eat the exact same meal I eat. And then for my husband, I add more protein or more carbs into his food, like from a side dish or topping. Same with harvest. We have seasonal crew that comes in. So I end up feeding about 8 to 9 men. in addition to my husband out in the field and my two boys at home. And I cook the same meal. Like they love it. They're like, okay, how is this healthy? So they used to ask me a ton of questions and now they don't ask. They're like, I'm here for my harvest diet because they, again, they're fueling their body, eating good food, and they end up losing weight. Granted, be I would love for them to put on muscle, but they're not working out with me. They're just eating the nutrition side of things. But they notice that they have more energy and stuff, and it's really cool to see that. So it's just when we take on couples, it's super eye opening because now these couples are in the program together. Again, it's tailored and one on one coaching. So yes, the workouts are not the same. The nutrition we teach, like instead of, one of the things I hate on social, by the way, is what I ate in a day. I hate that trend. I hate that trend. It like makes me cringe. It's like, that does not help people. And I'm all about like share a recipe and then let's show how this recipe is going to work for everyone. And so that's how we approach macros as a tip is like I have a recipe library of over 2,000 recipes, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, you name it. And how I teach them is I'm like, you cook this meal, double the meat source automatically. And then for you, how we're going to fit it in is again, sides or toppings. And then for your husband, maybe he wants 2 portions of it instead of 1. So you're still only cooking 1 meal that's going to work for everyone.
I'm totally with you on the what I ate in a day. And it reminds me of, it's so terrible. It reminds me of, this is way back in the 1900s, because I'm old now, when they, like in Glamour magazine, Cosmo, like, so I'm thinking like in the 90s, like when I was a teenager in the 90s and then through the 2000s, the diet culture trend where they would post all the time. This is this actress's, what she ate in a day, right? And they're taking an actress who had to be on a very strict diet and workout schedule to prep for a specific role. You know what I mean? Maybe it was Scarlett Johansson. She snapped back at somebody during an interview about her diet or whatever. And she's like, yeah, this is what you have to do to fit into these outfits or to look a certain way for these roles. But like, that's not what I do all the time, but that's what they portray. Like, this is normal to eat just, these tiny, like 6 almonds for breakfast and 5 lettuce leaves for lunch or something.
Our smoothie, detox smoothie trend, that's another one out there where you have to like, you're basically drinking carbohydrates, healthy carbohydrates. Like, let's just realize this, like again, you can get healthy carbohydrates in your diet and couple it with a healthy source of protein, and you're way better off. But like those diet trends, again, that's for that person. It doesn't work for everyone. And that's the thing a lot of people miss on is when fitness influencers on social media post what I eat in a day, it's not necessarily going to work for you. Like it would be way better off if they actually shared the recipes and then you can customize it to what you got going on with your goals and your ambitions and what you're trying to accomplish for your body. But I hate them. I hate those trends. Like that is one of the trends. I'm just like, every time I see it, I want to comment, but I don't want to be a keyboard warrior. So I'm just like, keep doing my thing and keep posting recipes and keep educating properly on how to approach food or nutrition instead of being like, oh, here's what I ate today. And most of the times, I'll be honest, my meals do not look like picture worthy. It looks like, like I made a goulash the other day and it was super healthy because of the noodles I used. And then I used lean meat, I doubled the meat source. I make my own spaghetti sauce sometimes where I don't add sugar to it, so like my goulash was super high protein. It was super good. It cooked all day, simmered and everything. And I post a picture of it. It looks so ugly because like it didn't look picture worthy. But I had people ask me for the recipe and I shared the recipe and then they went and made it and they're like, this tastes amazing. And I'm like, exactly. Like some of my food do not look picture worthy, but I promise you the taste will always be there and the nutrients and the vitamins on point.
Yes. That's so great. I love that. Oh, well, this is amazing. So we're going to put links for everything where people can find them in the show notes and everything to find you, follow you on social media, get connected with your Farm Fit program, everything else. And then any last nuggets of wisdom that you want to share with people?
I think the last nugget I would want to share with people is remember fitness is a journey without a destination. It's an adventure. Like, don't go into a fitness program thinking you're going to do it for 3 months or 6 months. Look at it as more of a longevity thing, especially when it comes to taking control of your own health and your own mental wellness. Like, it's not something that's going to be, oh, I have a vacation coming up, I need to get into shape. It should be, I'm going to make my body physically strong, my mind mentally strong. Like, muscle is sexy. And that's what I always say is strong is the new sexy. Like, do not get warped into I have to fit a certain jean size. Do not get warped into I have to look a certain way. Like, everybody's body's unique, and how we go about approaching our own mental and physical health is going to be a unique journey in itself.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Absolutely love it. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing your story, talking about all the information, and I can't wait for people to hear this. Thank you for joining me on today's episode. If you would like more information, just head on over to drbethwesty.com for all the show notes and information from today's episode. And if you're looking for more community, more support, you can find and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and I would love to see you there.